All right, we can get started, and as more people join, we can kind of get them caught up. So I'll share my screen. Okay. So welcome to week 4, everyone. Today we're going to be learning the basics of machine learning, AI, and data science, and we're going to conclude our 4-week summer camp. So until now, you guys have learned a lot about Python programming and even got a chance to make your own game. However, a lot of people might wonder, what are the applications to what we've learned? So we're going to be talking about one such of those applications today. All right, so the first one is machine learning. Machine learning is abbreviated ML. Basically, a machine is an object that helps humans, and learning is understanding. So machine learning is non-human or helpful products like computers and robots learning and understanding. The machine is like a student, while the programmer is a teacher. Let me give you guys a quick example. As a kid, you were probably trained to identify the following shapes. You were told that this was a square, this is a circle, and this is a triangle. Therefore, the next time you came across this shape, because of your knowledge that you already had, you could identify that this was a circle. This is exactly how machine learning works. The computer is trained to recognize different types of objects, shapes, sounds, images, or whatever you want, and uses AI to apply that knowledge to the real world. The types or categories that the machine is trained to recognize are called classes. In this example, can you guys guess what the classes would be in this shapes example? Just as a reminder, the classes are what the computer is trained to recognize. You guys can put it in the chat or unmute. So if you guys don't know the answer, I know everyone's probably new to machine learning. So the classes involved in this are shown below. Okay, are shown here. So they're square, circle, and triangle. So basically the system is trained to recognize what a square looks like, a circle looks like, and a triangle looks like.
What is artificial intelligence? Machine learning is a part of artificial intelligence. ML uses data to learn and improve accuracy. AI systems often use ML to function. If the machine is trying to understand that this is blue, this is purple, this is red, is the machine learning or is it artificial intelligence? If the machine looks at you can type the answer in chat for whatever you think. Okay, so in this case, this is machine learning and not artificial intelligence. But if the machine looks at the colors around it and identifies that the color is purple, is this machine learning or artificial intelligence? You can type your answer to this in chat as well. Yeah, that's right. It's AI. So AI and machine learning are often used in the real world, and one example is, how does YouTube give you video recommendations and know what you want to watch? The answer is that it's trained with data from your previous watches using machine learning to identify the new videos that you would like, which is using artificial intelligence.
Okay, so artificial intelligence as a whole means some software that uses knowledge to perform tasks and solve problems. And another more specific part inside of artificial intelligence is machine learning, which is basically programs that receive knowledge through data. So it basically learns from what it sees.
All right, now we're going to try creating our own machine learning algorithm. Keep in mind, we won't actually be programming today because that is a bit advanced, but we're just kind of simulate how a machine learning model would work. And you can train your model to recognize anything of your choice. Some ideas include, you can train it to identify cats versus dogs. You can train it to detect different shapes, like we did in the we showed previously. You can train it to detect squares, circles, triangles. You can train it to recognize different colors, or you can train it to recognize whether someone is wearing their mask or not. So I'll go through the steps really quick. The first step is to go to this link right here, teachablemachine.withgoogle.com/train/image. We can put it in the chat as well. So let us know when you guys are on that link, and then we'll move on to how to train the model.
It looks like people are starting to finish, so I guess we'll move on. So the second step is going to be to decide what classes or categories that you want, so like cats and dogs, and what you want to train, along with how many classes, and then write them in the place of class 1, class 2, and etc. So we'll give you a minute to do that as well, and then please type done in the chat as well. Okay, so it's been around a minute, so I guess we'll move on now. So step 3 is to gather some images from online and upload the appropriate images to each class. And the more images you add, the more the computer can successfully recognize like that image, because it has more like data to get it from. And then step 4 is to click the train model. And 5 is, once the model is trained, you should be able to see a section that says preview. And there you can test your model either through your webcam input or a file input. So you can show something through your webcam, or you can upload a file that you've downloaded.
How do I train it? How do I do it? Because I just got it, and then I was just trying to do it with the webcam. And all it did was just click many photos.
Yeah. So it should be taking pictures of you. What are you trying to kind of have the computer do? Are you doing like mask or no mask, or like a certain shirt, or is it?
I was trying to do the hair. Recognize people's hair.
So like hair or no hair, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you see two categories when you open them up? When you open up the link? Class 1 and Class 2? Or I don't know, Nirathi, is it possible for you to share your screen so that they can see that? Yeah, let me. Also, I just saw someone in the chat asked what website lets you download for free. If you're looking for images, you can try Free Pick. I think I'll put it in the chat as well. But I think you can like download free images from the site. So, let me share my screen.
Should I show you? Should I show you?
Oh yeah, sure. You can share your screen if you want. Actually, let me check if the permissions. Okay, yeah, I think you should be able to share your screen. Just let us know whenever you're ready, and then we can take a look. All right, so here, your first class would probably be like hair, and then your second class would probably be no hair, something like that. So what you would do is, so if you want, you can take pictures. So like you can take pictures of yourself, or what you can do is you can also like find images online and kind of just drag and drop them into the space there. Yeah. So right now, if there, since like just kind of you're gonna angle your camera so that there's no hair in one of them and then there's hair in the other one, and you can try that. And I think a good amount would definitely be at least 10 pictures, because the more pictures and images you have, the easier it is for the model to understand what you're doing. All right, really quick, I'm just going to share my screen, if you guys don't mind, so that I can show you how that works. All right. So let's say we're trying to make a machine learning model that can detect whether someone is wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. And I mean, for the purpose of this model, I guess I'll be the only test subject, but in the real world, you probably want to have different people and different, a lot more data. But for now, so we'll call class 1 would be mask, because this means that someone is wearing their mask. So if I put on my mask, sorry about that. And then if you press hold to record, you can take a couple of images. So I'm going to take like 10 just for an example. And then for the second class, which would be no mask, right? So someone without a mask, I would just take a couple of pictures without a mask. So again, I'm going to take around 10 pictures. So as you guys can see, we have two classes. We have no mask, and we have 10 photos of someone without a mask. And we have mask, and we have 10 photos of someone with a mask. Now, if I click train model, it's going to use all this data to train the machine to recognize whether someone has a mask or does not have a mask. So this is going to take a while. And then what you can do is, once the model is done training, you can try wearing a mask. And if you look at it here, it's 100% sure that I'm wearing a mask. Now, if I take it off, it's now 99 to 98% sure that I'm not wearing a mask. So this model is pretty accurate, but that's because there was only one test subject. So it was pretty easy, but in the real world, you're probably going to have a lot more test subjects and you're probably going to need a lot more data as well. So yeah, does anyone have any questions on how to train this?
Wait, how do you get there again?
Oh yeah, did you go to the Teachable Machine with Google link? Let me put it in the chat. All right.
Oh yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Okay. And once you guys have made your own model, there's no rush, but once you're done, please type done in the chat so we know we can move on. If anyone has any cool ideas for their model, you might want to share them in the chat as well, in case anyone else is struggling to find an idea or wants inspiration. And if any of you are done training your model or have some kind of result, you can type done in the chat, or you can unmute and let us know. All right. For the purpose of time, we'll move on from the machine learning model for right now. But if we have time at the end, you guys can definitely come back and continue working on your models and ask us for any help as well. So I'll start sharing my screen again, and we'll continue with our lesson. All right. So it looks like we're done with this part for now.
All right, so our next topic of discussion is going to be deep learning. And deep learning is a subset of machine learning that's designed to mimic the human brain. So think of it as a machine trying to learn in much the same way that a human does, through pattern recognition and the sorts. And these patterns are also found through neural networks. And another really interesting thing about deep learning is that despite being made to mimic the human brain, it requires almost no human intervention.
Okay, so like we just talked about, deep learning models often use something called neural networks. It's just like how your brain has neurons that it uses to learn stuff. The deep learning would have something very similar. So you can see kind of the image kind of looks almost like neurons are firing from one place to another. And while there can be multiple different layers are each of those circles over there. The simplest one would have 3 layers. So the first layer would be the input, the second layer would be some sort of hidden layer, and the third layer would be the output. And there's an example of this. So if you were trying to buy a house, or if you were trying to find how much the house costs, how would you do that? What sort of factors would you need to take into account in order to do that? You guys can write it in the chat to determine how much a house should cost. Oh, Nirathi, you can display a second image. Okay, so this is a very simple example. And I know you guys might have thought about a lot more that you could include. But what you'll need to have, for example, is you need to know how many bedrooms. So let's say the house has 3 bedrooms, how big the house is. So here we're just measuring square feet. And the sort of neighborhood it's in. Is it in like the middle of the woods where there's like a lot of rats around the house? Or is it kind of in a nice neighborhood, a high crime neighborhood? All of those would be the inputs that you're putting in. The hidden layer is a little bit more complex, so I won't go too much into that, but just think about that as a layer where all this information is being analyzed. And eventually you'll get an output. And so your output here would be the total price that you would come to. So let's say taking all of this into account, someone can say, I feel like this home costs a certain amount. And generally that's what you would see if you're like on a housing market or something, that's the price that they would put out. Now, generally, since that one's pretty simple, you don't need to make like a Python program to figure out how much a house costs. But if you can use this idea to make stuff that are much, much more complex to do. All right, so the next quick thing we'll do is an example of another application of deep learning and machine learning. So I'm putting a link in the chat. How many of you have played QuickDraw before? For those of you who haven't, it's basically a game where you're given the option to draw a particular item. So they'll tell you, like, for example, draw a mushroom. And you have to try to draw the mushroom while the computer tries to guess it. And you have to try to draw as many images correctly as possible. So if you guys click on that link, you can spend a couple of minutes playing the game and just trying to figure out how QuickDraw works. And then we can explain the deep learning behind it. So we'll let you guys play with that for a couple of minutes. We'll give you around 3 to 4 minutes to try that. Okay, I think most of you have had a chance to try out playing the game maybe once or twice, so we can talk more about the deep learning behind it now. All right, so if you guys look at the screen once you're done drawing all of your quick draws, you'll see that there's actually an option to visit the data and see around 50 million other drawings. And these are actually the data that the model uses in order to understand and try to decode what your drawing shows. So if, for example, you see tornado here and crown here, so they probably have millions of other images of crowns they can use to try to identify whether what you drew is a crown or a tornado or a snake. So it uses all of these images, which are collected from all the people who've ever played QuickDraw and who've ever drawn images on QuickDraw, and it uses those to train the model to recognize your drawings, which is why as time passes and as more people use the website, it's going to get more accurate.
Okay, the last part of our presentation today is data science. So the purpose of data science is to find patterns in data to predict or make decisions about the future. In simple terms, data is used to solve problems. There are multiple steps involved with data scientists' work, and they're all found in the data science process.
Okay, so as Pranav said, the data science process is basically a systematic approach to solving a data problem. But how exactly does the data science process work? So let's go over the steps and use an imaginary scenario where we are in charge at Netflix and our job is to improve Netflix subscriber rates. So the first step is to define the problem. What are we trying to solve? And in this hypothetical situation, let's say that users are canceling Netflix subscriptions. Okay, so the second step is data collection, where we collect information. Does anyone have an idea of what data we can collect from Netflix users? Go ahead and type in the chat or feel free to unmute. But essentially, what information can we collect from them to help figure out what are their behaviors when they're on Netflix? What shows are they watching? Okay, trending things, how many times they watch. Okay, those are both great types of information to collect. And the two ones that we came up with are what shows do most people watch and what do users eat while watching. And when we're doing the brainstorming process of data collection, the things that we come up with don't necessarily have to pertain to their Netflix subscriptions. For example, what do users eat while watching? It's seemingly unrelated to their behavior. But yeah, thank you guys for all typing things in the chat. But now let's move on to the next step, which is data cleaning. And this is where we remove the unnecessary data. So when we were brainstorming, we came up with what do users eat while watching? And although we could track the foods users eat while watching, it isn't necessary information to solve our problem, so we can eliminate it. The fourth step is data analysis, and this is where we can dissect the data we collected and try to find patterns. For example, suppose 75% or 3/4 of users watched mystery movies, like they really like the mystery genre. However, there are only 5 mystery movies on our platform. So in other words, most of the people like watching mystery movies, but we only have 5, and that's not enough. And this leads into step 5, where in data modeling, where we basically make a solution. Do any of you guys have any ideas of how we can solve this issue? Any potential solutions? Okay, great. Add more mystery movies. Thanks for putting that in the chat. Oh, you had the right idea, Taya. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. But we can add more mystery movies for our subscribers to watch. The next step is data validation, and this is where we test our solution and make adjustments if the solution isn't working correctly. So suppose that after we added 5 more mystery movies, customers still didn't subscribe. We can repeat this process by continually adding more movies, and in other words, iterating our solution to see if it gets better. The final step is deployment and optimization, and this is where we get the word out. By advertising, customers might hear that their favorite movies are returning, and if they cancel their subscriptions, they might subscribe again, or it might prevent people from canceling their subscriptions. So now, but basically we solved this issue that we were having with losing Netflix subscribers, but really the data science process can apply to so many different things. And these issues might be small things or big things. They might be happening in your community or on a global scale. So it's great that we can use this data science process to really solve issues, no matter how big or small.
Does anyone have any questions about anything we've covered so far? Because if you do, please do this.
Yeah, now's a great time.
All right. Okay, so before we end, we have a few quick announcements that we would like to make. And the first one is regarding our GoFundMe. So as all of you know, A Step Ahead offers free and accessible STEM classes, for example, this Python course, to students regardless of financial background or all of that. And so in order to keep doing this, we are requesting a $5 donation. This is really appreciated, and while it is optional, this donation could help us expand our course offerings so you guys can learn more and go more in depth into Python, improve our services overall, and support kids in need who can't afford whether it be the time or the money or just aren't able to attend our sessions like all of you. So being able to donate to us would be really great if you could help with all of that. And in order to donate, you would need to go to the link, which we can paste in the chat. And then you can press donate now and select the amount of payment method. We will send this in our after email as well in case it's easier for you to get it that way. And like we said earlier, it's totally all right if you're not able to donate, but it would be really, really helpful for future events. And any amount is appreciated.
Okay, our second announcement for today is that we're introducing office hours for this Python summer camp that we're hosting at 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time next Monday. And if you want the date, that's the 15th of August. So if you guys need help with any of your Python projects or have any questions that you'd like us to answer, you can come in. You can come into the office hours on that day, and we will send out a reminder and the link. And the link stays the same. Our last announcement is that what we've told you today is only possible because of programming languages like Python. While there are many other uses for programming, this is just one of them, and we wanted to focus on today.
Oh, also, really quick, I know there are some of the groups, if you haven't finished your final project or you want to expand on those or any of those, we can also help you finish that next week in office hours.
Okay, so now after all your effort and time, we'd love to hear what you learned in a fun Padlet activity. For those of you who haven't used Padlet before, it's essentially an online note board. So if you could please navigate to our Padlet board using the link I just posted in the chat.
Yeah, I'll explain the next steps once you guys have reached the Padlet website. Okay, so once you guys have gotten there, there should be a pink button in the corner, a pink plus button, and you essentially click that and it opens up a note. And then for the title, we'd like you guys to write about what you want to be when you grow up, and then below that in the body section of the note, tell us about anything you learned from this Python summer camp, or why you chose the occupation you wrote in the cell above. We'll give you guys around 4 minutes to fill this out. Oh, and there's no rush, so it's okay if you don't finish by 4 minutes, but if you do finish early, let us know in the chat so we can move on.
If you do finish, now would also be a great time to continue working on your teachable machine. All right, we'll give everyone a couple more minutes to work on your Padlet, and just let us know in the chat when you're done so that we can move on to the last thing. All right, I've seen a lot of great responses in the chat, in the Padlet, so let's go ahead and move on for now. And you guys can continue working on it once we're done with today's session.
All right, thank you, Sahithi. So with that being said, I'd like to officially end our 4-week course. Congratulations and thank you for all being attentive, curious, and hardworking learners these past 4 weeks. We love seeing you guys learn and overcome challenges. Also, I want to thank our wonderful staff who devoted their time off this summer to be instructors for this camp. Nirathi, Sahithi, Manomay, Pranav, Ajit, William, Navneeth, and Sydney. Finally, if you enjoyed this workshop and felt like you learned something new, you and your parents can let us know by filling out this short feedback form I just posted in the chat. If you'd like to contact us in the future, our email address is siliconvalley.astepahead@gmail.com, and our website is siliconvalleystepahead.wixsite.com, and you can check it out using the links I'm about to post in the chat. We also have a YouTube channel where you can find recordings of our past workshops as well as our future ones, so be sure to subscribe. And finally, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them. And if any of the instructors have anything else to say, feel free.
Well, let me put the link to the GoFundMe also in the chat.
Okay, that'd be perfect.
And we will be emailing you guys all certificates of completion in a few days, so do be looking out for that. And you can always come back for office hours if you have any questions or any doubts.
And in those office hours, you can also, if you have a personal project, feel free to run it by us if you'd like our advice or our input. We'd be glad to help you guys out.
And if you guys have no further questions, you can feel free to leave. Thank you so much again for coming.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks for coming.